Do you know what is the difference between a product and a feature? This is what we're going to talk about in this video. And it might be rather crucial for your success as an entrepreneur. So let's get started. If you would ask from your customer, how sorry would they be if your product would not be available anymore? Would it be a total catastrophe for them, so they're really dependent on you? Or would it be like, oh well, that happens, we can live without you? If you're not in the first category, if they are not like a disaster to the max, worried about you leaving them, that's one sign that you actually may not have a product. You might be just something which is just nice to have. It's not a real pain point. And this can be a problem. It's very hard to actually be best. In the podcast episode I recorded with Sakari Pihlava, he was talking about this. He said, it's way more easier to differentiate yourself from the competition than be the best in anything. And this is a really important point. How you can differentiate yourself from the other players becomes more important when the big guys, the big players, the incumbents are coming in and they wanna come and take your business. Because if you become successful, it depends on your luck and industry, how successful you need to be for them to pay attention to you. But eventually that will happen. So if you differentiate yourself from the others, they may not come in and take your position so easily. Well, how can you differentiate yourself from the others? One of them is to think about, for example, how do you charge your customers? What is your business model? How do you make your money? That could be completely different. So you could take another angle completely. How do you provide your service? Let's take an example from history, not too far away, not going back to the T-Ford. We're just going back a few decades. Salesforce was pretty much the first one who started to do cloud services, in a sense that you could do sales and not have a software. So they even actually used in their marketing the slogan, no software. So they were targeting the chains that you don't need to install, you don't need to have your own servers, you don't need any of those things in order to get the product what we're providing you for. So it's so convenient, easy, and quick to get started. And imagine if you've been selling your software services and you package them as a licenses and you need to install the servers and do all those things for each and every client. And now there's a new player who doesn't play along, who doesn't have that type of model, says, no, I don't need those installation costs. No, there's no annual licenses. There's only a monthly fee. So it's a bit harder to compare these two products. And this is something to think about. Getting back to the product or feature aspect as well. Features are something which are relatively easy to include to the existing products. They are something which you can put in and it's just another feature in the bundle. But if you have a product, it means that it cannot be just copied. Let's take another example. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Facebook is pretty good copying others like any other big company who becomes into their radar and start to become successful. Well, TikTok is a big company already, obviously, but how they do things is different. How Instagram does those. You can copy the feed, the For You page, but the way it works underneath is more difficult to copy. And that's something with the current setup, how Instagram works and how they monetize the content and what's the relationship between the users, it's not exactly the same model anymore. TikTok is more about the content. You want to have something entertaining. You don't really care that much about who is the provider of that content. You just like the videos and swipe up or down and go on and move on. You only want to get the best content available. Instagram is more about the people. It's more about who you're following, and then comes the content. But there's a difference. And this is a different way of approaching the market, different service as well. So it's not exactly as easy to copy just the features from TikTok or even the algorithm to provide the content, because you already have something else in place with the different revenue models and business logic underneath it. So this is my message today. Think about whether you actually have a product or is it just a feature which other players can easily copy, and you cannot differentiate yourself and be crucial for the success of your customers so that they have really hard time living without you. Till next time. Features are something which are relatively easy to put to other products. They become commodities, if you will, along the way. In technologies, let's take an example, for example. We're talking about AR, we're talking about machine learning, we're talking about these fancy new ways of doing things at this point. They are special things now, but wait for a few years, and then everybody have those. You just need to use them. There's no special advantage you get by using them.